Well, welcome everyone. It's always wonderful to have you here, and always wonderful, and I'm very grateful to you to show up, even though that the announcement for this session for this meeting was sent just earlier today, and there you are showing up, and I'm very grateful that you are able to make it. Uh, so our usual host, Nizam, or both Nizam and Matt and whoever else, but lately it's been Nizam. He's not able to make it tonight, so no host, no one introducing anything. So it's just me taking care of everything, recording, talking. All right, so I'm not going to do a good job as good a job as Nizam, nor a good job as Matt, but I'll just get right to it. Nizam did a beautiful job again for the writing the invitation for today, and almost amazing. He did that for just sent out today. Today, I didn't really want to do a lecture. I just really wanted us to do a meditation, maybe a 45 minutes meditation on peace, where we would basically tap into our Buddha nature in however that we can. I mean, if we could actually tap thoroughly into our Buddha nature, you would not be needing to be sitting here tonight. You would just be already quite advanced. So we're just going to, as much as we can, tap into our Buddha nature, and then identify and establish our consciousness there to however we can, and from that perspective, from that place, radiate peace towards the planet. I'm sure there are hot spots that are of concern to you. The world, unfortunately, is providing us a lot of choices to a lot of places for us, for a lot of different kind of choices for where we can focus. There are so many places on almost every continent, and not almost every single continent has some sort of need for peace that's going on. Even in certain places where there isn't as much outward signs of turmoil, conflict, but there is still the germ that eventually becomes the outward conflict brewing in those places. So wherever you feel, I mean, especially for wherever you are, we are going to send healing rays of peace to those places, and then to a specific place that you have concerned about that is that is not close to you, and then to the entire planet. Okay. Before I begin, I want to read a little excerpt from Dhammapada, which is like a compilation of like advice that the Buddha gave throughout the different discourses that were compiled together into a book called the Dhammapada. The Dhammapada itself is not a sutra. It wasn't like the way the other sutras are set up, is that on a particular occasion, a question was asked or something happened, and the Buddha responded to that question, or the Buddha responded to that occasion, and then there was a discourse to address that occasion, to address that whatever happened. The Dhammapada is more like a collection where the settings for each one is not necessarily described, but rather the lesson or the essence of the teaching that the Buddha gave is sort of compiled from several different occasions. And there's a nice book that was the Dhammapada Illustrated, which is almost like an encyclopedia, which actually gives the context for each one of the verses. if you want to know exactly the context for each of the Dhammapada, if you're reading the Dhammapada is found within the Tibetan. It is found within all the different traditions, the different traditions of Buddhism found throughout the world, within the Tibetan tradition, within the Chinese, the Japanese. They all have some version or some translation of the Dhammapada. It's not only found within the Pali tradition. And there's a more like a Tibetan, there's a Mahayana kind of the Dhammapada, meaning it's talking about bodhisattvas, a version also that is found. So I'll be reading from the very first chapter of that, which I find very meaningful. And I will read from Thich Nhat Hanh. He actually, there's a book written by Thich Nhat Hanh on peace. I think it's called Creating Peace. I'll read a little bit from that. I'm not going to read much, just a little bit from each to inspire us, and then we'll move to do the meditation. Okay. The book by Thich Nhat Hanh is called Creating True Peace. And there are many translations of the Dhammapada. And some of them are wonderful translations. Some of them, I'm not too fond of the translations. So the translation that I'm using is by I'll get that to you in a moment. Here we go. Okay, it's called Dhammapada, Annotated and Explained. The annotation is by Jack McGuire, translated by Max Mueller. Okay. A Penguin has one, and the classic publishing houses, each one has some sort of translation of the Dhammapada. Okay. All right. So that's enough of my introduction. So now let's go into, I'll begin with it's the first chapter of the Dhammapada. It's called the Twin Verses. Twin meaning the Buddha presents one thing and it presents another aspect of the same thing. And then it's continuing like that. I find it very beautiful. And this is a nice rendition of it, even though somewhat verbose, but it helps to get the point across so we can understand it. Okay, here we go. All that we are is the result of what we have thought. It is founded on our thoughts. It is made up of our thoughts. If one speaks or acts with an evil thought, pain follows, or suffering follows, as the wheel follows the foot of the ox that draws the wagon. All that we are is the result of what we have thought. It is founded on our thoughts. It is made up of our thoughts. If one speaks or acts with a pure thought, happiness follows one like a shadow that never leaves. She abused me, he beat me, he defeated me, he robbed me. In those who harbor such thoughts, hatred will never cease. She abused me, he beat me, she defeated me, he robbed me. In those who do not harbor such thoughts, hatred will cease. For never does hatred cease by hatred. at any time. Hatred ceases by love. This is an eternal law. The translation is not, doesn't really capture it the way I would like it to be captured, but it's so far as among the translations, this is a good one. And it's the very last three lines, that's last three verses of this, what I just read, that we really want us to really pay attention to. So it begins by reminding us that our experiences are determined by our minds. That's what the first two verses are. So whether you're having wonderful experiences or awful experiences, those experiences are determined by our minds. How are they determined by our minds? They are determined by what do we allow our minds to sort of run, what kind of thoughts we allow to dwell in our minds, what kind of thoughts we entertain, what kind of thoughts we nurture. And they give the example, if we keep nurturing thoughts of remembering how we were hurt, how we were abused, how we were defeated, how we were harmed, how we were cheated, if these are the things that we constantly allow our thoughts to run over, then the natural result of thinking such thoughts will be to nurture hatred. But if we do not allow our minds, our thoughts to run along these lines, or we are constantly remembering how we were harmed, how we were hurt, how we were cheated in all these kinds of ways, then by cultivating our thoughts that way, by allowing these kinds of thoughts to go to in our minds, then this is how we can assuage hatred and whatever is connected to hatred. And the key point here at the end, after this, where he says, hatred cannot put an end to a hatred. He said, hatred can only be put an end to by love. And this is a universal law. This is something that is written in the very fabric of existing. And we know that when we are stirred, when anger is stirred within us, anger seems to be telling us to respond in kind. And as the conditions of what's happening in the world tells us, so far, no one has been able to prove this to be correct. And we are still trying to prove it to be correct. When we are responding hatred for hatred, it doesn't put an end to hatred, it only enhances it. Okay. And it seems counterintuitive, but deep inside, we know this is the truth. The only way to put an end to hatred is to begin to cultivate love. That is just the law of the universe. Perhaps in some other universe, in some alternate dimension, maybe it works. Maybe hatred does put a stop to hatred. But so far in our universe, that doesn't seem to be the work, how it's done. So this is all I wanted to read from Dhammapada to sort of set up what we are going to do today. We are going to begin the cultivation of the state of mind that will bring us the conditions, the experiences that will bring peace, make us experience peace and bring peace to the world, into our lives. Okay. And I wanted to also read a little bit from Thich Nhat Hanh's book, Creating Peace, Creating True Peace, Ending Violence. In the very beginning, there's a little subsection called The Nature of Peace, where he says, those of us who practice nonviolence learn that it is truly possible to live happily and free from hatred, even among people who hate us. But to do so, we need to be calm, to see clearly what the real situation is and what it is not, and then to wake up and act with courage. I find this to be very important. Peace is not simply the absence of violence. It is the cultivation of understanding, insight, and compassion, combined with action. Okay? Peace is the practice of mindfulness, being aware of our thoughts, our actions, and the consequences of our actions. And then continues, and there's a part in there where he has different meditations on cultivating peace. And one of the exercises that he gives us is to sort of create a personal peace treaty where we are committing ourselves to develop peace within ourselves. Okay. So these are the two things I wanted to read to sort of inspire us. And the meditation that we're going to do is mainly focusing on one of the four immeasurables, which is the immeasurable equanimity. This class or this session is not really a teaching, but rather a call to arms, so to speak, a call to meditators to help the planet remember something by us consciously making contact with a more elevated, a more evolved aspect that we all need to make contact with, so that the suffering that we are enduring, that we can begin to put an end to it. And the way to approach this is not so much that somehow by doing this meditation tonight, tomorrow we will wake up and then there will be world peace. I'm sure people have been meditating on peace for a very long time, and still we are experiencing conflicts in the world, conflicts amongst nations, conflicts amongst neighbors. So what is the point of doing meditation on peace when we don't actually, when it doesn't seem to actually put an end to it? Well, first of all, it is a way for us as individuals not to be swept up by this sort of wave of conflict that's going on, so that we can have a measure of distance, so that at least within our own selves, we can experience some degree of peace. And it's not a selfish kind of peace where we are witnessing our neighbors and our friends completely caught up in conflict, not able to experience any peace. And while we are sitting in our private experiences in that private world, having peace and then looking at the world. Of course, as people who have great compassion and have great love, you're not going to be at peace where it's just you at peace and then you're witnessing others not able to experience peace. But rather, we will have a state of mind where we will have the measure of clarity to be able to see solutions where if we were caught up in the conflict, we will not be able to see those solutions. And also, unfortunately, and due to the nature of reality, the nature being freedom, absolute freedom, the nature of reality has a quality of absolute freedom in the sense that even though you will be able to experience peace, you cannot impose it on someone else. They have to want it, and they have to consciously participate. And then maybe you can make that exchange. So because of that, one of the wisdoms that we are able to develop when we are living in our own personal peace, when because of that we have we have a certain degree of clarity, that we are able to see solutions, but we are also able to know something called right timing. We will know, this is the time to implement this solution. It will have an actual effect. People are now ready for this. We will be able to know the right time, be able to know right timing, which is something that is of absolute necessity. That way we do not develop discouragement when we are constantly trying to implement what we feel will be solutions for peace, but somehow we don't see the results of it. And we think that there's something wrong with us, or it's impossible to actually experience, to bring some degree of peace in the world. But to know about right timing. Okay. So having developed that kind of inner peace will give us that kind of clarity where we are able to have this wisdom called the wisdom of right timing. It is considered to be one of the, not that it will be developed to that perfection, but it is considered to be one of the unique qualities of a fully enlightened being, to completely know, to completely be in tune with right timing, because of the freedom of reality, the freedom of that is the nature of things, the freedom that is the nature of your mind. Until you are ready to experience nirvana, doesn't matter how many Buddhas, how many enlightened beings are going to try to force you to experience nirvana, you will not experience it, because you have to participate. And in the same way, when you're ready to reach nirvana, it doesn't matter how many demons are trying to pull you into samsara, into hellish experiences, they cannot make you experience them. So that tells us, that takes us back to the very beginning of the Dhammapada, about how we participate in some way or another, consciously and unfortunately mostly unconsciously, in our experiences that we have. The experiences that we have, we participated in some way. We agreed, we accepted. And of course, it's not the kind of acceptance that I don't really like to hear when New Age people are talking about, like we agreed, coming from a place of bliss, we agreed to come down and experience suffering so that we can grow. I don't quite believe in that. Some of you may believe in that, but so far I have not been convinced about that. Somehow we left the place of bliss, and then somehow that wasn't enough. We thought, I think I need some suffering. I don't know what that is like. Let me go down and suffer some. I don't believe in that, but okay. So it's not that we accepted, let me suffer some, but rather misguided by misunderstanding, thinking that I am going to get something that will benefit me. Let me go in that direction. But the misunderstanding of the nature of who we are, the misunderstanding of the nature of the thing, the misunderstanding of the nature of the interaction, the relationship between us and the thing and the doing, the misunderstanding created the experience of suffering. Okay, so it's not like we were consciously thinking somehow in some clarity, let me go experience some suffering because it will help me grow. Okay. Some of you, it's okay if you want to believe that. It might be very helpful for you to believe that. It doesn't help me. So I don't want to believe it. Maybe when I become more evolved, then I will accept that. I will have the capacity to accept it as some kind of a truth. But right now, I'm too dumb to accept that. Okay. All right. So we, in some way, participate in our experiences. Okay. And the crucial another the so there were three crucial things in those verses that I read. The second crucial thing was the experience is determined by what we allow our minds, what we in the real estate of our mind, what we allow to dwell there, and that will determine what kind of experience we will have. Okay. All right. That's enough of the talking. It's time now to meditate. And maybe some other time, I'll talk a lot about peace and all that kind of stuff. But now we need work, the work of meditation. So get yourself really comfortable because we're going to meditate for quite some time. We will do first a certain kind of mindfulness of breathing. Through the mindfulness of breathing, we will make contact with an experience of peace. After we make that, when we are dwelling in this experience of peace, then we will radiate that peace first to our immediate surroundings, to our to the nation where we are, or the place where we are, and then to a specific place that we feel an affiliation for, that we feel drawn towards, to send peace towards, and then at the end towards the entire planet. Okay. All right. So sit nicely. Take a moment to make sure that your posture is conducive to meditation, that it has those two qualities of comfort and stability. Connect with that intelligence within the body, having communicated your intention. Listen to the response to that intention as it guides you when you bring your attention to your legs. If you need to make adjustments, listen to it. It will guide you. Begin to make contact with the signs that you are actually beginning to make contact with, the signs that you are actually approaching the meditative state, actually approaching powerful states of mind to actually bring about the transformation. Once you feel, having scanned the legs enough, made adjustments enough, then to the torso. Listen, make adjustments, rejoice, making contact with the signs, comfort, stability, calming, pleasantness. Then bring attention to the arms, from the shoulders to the tip of the fingers, even, relaxed. Then the head and neck, centered. Mouth, teeth, tongue resting in their natural places. eyes resting in the posture that is conducive for you, and have a general sense of the whole body as a unit. Feeling that there is palpable contact with the signs arising within the body that we are approaching meditation state. Welcome them, rejoice, and gently bring attention to the breath. We are not trying to control the breath, simply being aware of the breath as we breathe in and as we breathe out. And at some point, we notice a slight shift in how the breath is behaving or how we are aware of the breath. And at that point, we make the decision to fully commit to the meditation state. Take a nice deep breath in through the nose if you wish. Hold for a second or two and release. And as you release, let yourself go, let yourself go physically, let yourself go mentally, let yourself go, let yourself go, let yourself go. Notice you're going deeper into the signs of calm, pleasantness in the body, in the breath. And at the end of that exhalation, allow the breath to return to its normal rhythm while you stay connected to that level of calm that you've touched. Staying, staying, staying. Let us stabilize this. Again, 2 more breaths. In through the nose, out the mouth. And each time as you breathe out, letting go, stay connected to the new depth of the sign while you allow the breath to return to its normal rhythm. Okay. Notice the new strength of the signs in the body, in the breath, as well as the mind, the calm, the pleasantness. And perhaps already the signs of clarity and radiance have dawned in the mind. However they are showing up for you, welcome them, rejoice, knowing that, my mind is calmer, my mind is clearer, my mind is brighter. My mind is therefore more powerful. And try to stay in this ever enhancing, ever subtle level of consciousness. And witness, cultivate the conviction that you are indeed having access and abiding in a more subtle consciousness by being aware of the phenomena that is occurring within you, around you, that you would not be able to be aware of if it were not a more subtle consciousness, like the pulse in the different places in your body, the inner movement of energy, the sense of thoughts impressing themselves, arising on their own that you're not deliberately conjuring up. Those are signs of more subtle consciousness. Welcome that. Rejoice in that. Having stabilized the sense of being in some measure in the meditative state, continue to allow this to deepen on its own. And every once in a while, you may deliberately deepen it with a deep breath and relaxing, letting go as you breathe out. And gently bring your attention to specifically the sign of calm that is palpably present either in the body or in the breath or even in the mind, wherever it is. Become aware of it. So as you breathe in, you are aware of the calm in the body. As you breathe out, you are aware of the calm in the body. And do it for the breath, do it for the mind, and then keep cycling this for a little bit. Beautiful. Now you are familiarizing yourself with the faculty of pure observation, the faculty of the mind that is pure observation. Keep acquainting yourself with that quality. As you breathe in, you are aware of the calm. As you breathe out, you are aware of the calm. Now you're going to become acquainted with another function of the mind, the directing function. But before we make full contact with that, so as you breathe in, you wish to enhance the calm. Just hold on to the wishing. And as you're holding on to the wishing, let your mind be open to that faculty of directing to see if you can be in it. As you breathe in, you are aware of the calm and you're wishing for it to be calmer without necessarily making it calmer, just wishing it and paying attention. The faculty of directing, are you sensing it? The same way you are fully aware of the faculty of observing. And perhaps there's a sense of touching that quality. Now try to exercise it. The wishing will make you make contact with it if the wishing is strong. So now that you made some sort of contact with that quality, that function, now deliberately with a sense of authority, like your words will just be obeyed, your wish will just be obeyed without any question. So as you breathe in, sort of make the calm calmer. Breathing in, I experience deeper calm, and then feel that deeper calm in the body, in the breath, and the mind. Breathing out, do the same. And you can sort of feel that by expressing it in a what is called positive thinking. Breathing in, I am calming more. Breathing out, I'm calming more. Something like that. Now that you are somewhat attuned to those three qualities: observing, wishing, and sort of like making or directing experiences. And we're going to need these three with the main part of the meditation. So become familiar with them: observing, wishing, and directing. So like making it so. And we are doing this using the experience of calm, observing it, wishing it to be a certain way, and then sort of directing it to be that way. And if the calm has become for you in a way a taste of peace, what that word denotes for you, that word peace, see if calm has either transformed into that or it is sort of making you touch that where the word peace is more appropriate than calm. observe, wish, enhance. Now, from within this enhanced calm or peace, staying in it, continuously aware of it, gently now raise your attention to the level of your eyebrows. Still in that peace, experiencing that peace. Feel the sensation in the forehead. And use the same way of directing attention, experiencing peace. I'm aware of the sensation in the forehead. And begin to invoke, bring a sense of presence of your ideal self, your enlightened potential, your Buddha nature, the inner guru. And if you are already fortunate, then the outer appearance for you of the inner guru. And connect with the utter sense of peace that they dwell in. Connect with that. And it is a kind of peace that is utterly incapable of being stirred from its nature. It cannot be moved from its nature of peace. Nothing can happen that can move it, even the fraction of an inch from that peace. That peace is so stable. Of course, that peace is stable because it is accompanied by other factors: love, compassion, wisdom, fearlessness, and so forth. And the peace is radiating from it. And it's so palpable that it takes on the form of light. And if you align yourself just right, when the light hits you, it gives you a taste of that peace. It's like a perfume that is wonderful to send, to sense. A cool breeze. Express your deep reverence for that peace, your deep trust in that peace. Honor that peace. And you wish to be able to radiate peace in that same way. And your sincere wish is fulfilled, that bright, peaceful presence comes into your heart, and you begin to radiate that peace. You smell of peace. The very perception of you gives rise to peace in the mind that is observing you. Now let, in that peaceful state, unshakable, allow yourself to observe how in that peace there is no conflict, how in that peace there is such joy. The peace of equanimity. There's no being pulled in one direction, no having to resist. There's no being pushed in another direction, having to resist. Constantly centered. Now, think of the situations that are going on that have attracted your attention, where peace would be such a wonderful experience, wonderful gift for those places, for those minds, for those places. And begin to simply wish, just not wish yet, but simply to How wonderful it would be. Just dwell in that joy. How wonderful it would be if such and such a person, in such and such a mind, in such and such a place, there were there was peace. No over exaggerated attachment that forces one to have war in their minds. No over exaggerated hatred. No pulling and being pushed by hatred and attachment, but pure peace. Imagine that. How wonderful it would be. Just let your mind sort of fantasize how wonderful it would be if the citizens of A were free of their minds, of their hearts being pulled, shred by attachments and hatreds. If they would be living with a mind, a heart of peace, how wonderful that would be. Let your mind, let your imagination fantasize how wonderful that would be. And observe how wonderful that would be. If they had understanding, if they were able to see things as they really are, if they were to able to see as it is not, if they were to actually hold sincere concern for the welfare of their fellows, understand each other, how wonderful that would be. Keep building that up. And as you begin to continue to just observe and fantasizing how wonderful it would be, notice within your heart there's a strong wishing for it to be. So just now dwell in that wishing as if somehow your wishing will make it so. May their hearts be free of being tug and pull of attachment and hatred for some and others. May their hearts be filled with understanding of one another. Their minds dwelling in peace, centered, intimately knowing their own suffering, so that they can empathize for those who suffer as they do. Keep wishing, as though wishing will make it so. And there's a point where a bit of frustration is growing within you as you're making the wish. You no longer just want waiting for some miracle to happen and then peace comes up. You want to take action. So when you get to that, just like when you did observation, wishing, and then directing, the sense of peace that you felt radiated as though you're shining peace into where you live, onto those places, into their minds, filling even the environment in such a way that people, when they come into the environment, their minds become free of the tug and pull of attachment and hatred, misunderstanding, but again, instead gain clarity, joy, understanding, sympathy, empathy. It's as though your words were divine edicts. Just speaking them make things happen. Have that attitude. So cycle these for the next few minutes. Cycle these in your mind. How wonderful it would be. Observe how wonderful it would be until it becomes a strong wish. Wish it to be so. And then, sort of as though your words are divine edicts, just make it so. And commit yourself. I will develop peace within me. We reconcile, bring reconciliation, inner acknowledgement, inner understanding, so that I develop peace to such a strong degree that when I enter a room, the peace that I bring is so palpable, it calms minds, it calms emotions, it brings peace, it cools the fever of attachment and aversion. So cycle these in your mind. Okay, get ready to end the meditation. Let that light of peace radiating from your heart, let it completely envelop the entire earth, taking joy in how wonderful it would be if there was peace all over the earth, that would mean there is understanding amongst people for one another, loving people, loving each other, having compassion for each other. Wish it to be so. Make it so. And dedicate your life, dedicate yourself to develop this peace within you. Just look at the earth in peace, take joy, let that image impress your mind. That is something worth working for, working towards, aspiring towards. Gently bring your attention back to the space of just the space of the meditation. Feeling especially the sense of peace of the meditation, rejoicing, dedicate the meditation. Gyordi gyork, senam yeshe sozoshi, senam yeshe lechon, tama kunye toba sho. Get ready to arise, take a nice deep breath. And as you exhale, let yourself reconnect with your immediate surroundings through a sense of touch, the sense of hearing, and the sense of sight. Well, thank you so much for participating in this. I hope it wasn't just one boring hour for you, but you actually felt like and know that I mean, these are different ways that we can actually do something about what's happening in the world. Meditating is an actual activity that we can take to actually bring about some sort of effect in the world. So we don't necessarily have to be not that it is to be discouraged. Of course, it is to be encouraged to actually go out and march and protest and whatever you need to do to bring about peace. But don't just know that that's not the only effective way of actually bringing about peace. It's not just temporary peace we want permanent peace. And it begins with doing activities like that within us so that we experience it and others can taste it by bringing our presence, and by tasting it they'll want also to live it, to experience it. I'm sure because you're meditators, you've had this experience where you've entered a room and then somehow you impress the people there with the peace that you bring there. I'm sure some of you have had that, if not all of you have had this experience. Okay, so imagine this multiplying. Right? Yeah. Okay. Right. Thank you very much. And perhaps the next time we meet, it might be an actual talk on this topic, how to more like the practical aspect of it, especially when that line in the verse that says hatred is not ceased by hatred, it is ceased by love, and this is an eternal law. How do we actually put this into practice? How do we put this into a practice where we're not actually just perpetuating someone from continuing to engage in bad behavior? So something like that. Is there a practical way of doing this would actually bring peace rather than just cultivating intolerance, so to speak? Okay. All right. So thank you very much, everyone, and hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening. And thank you.